Okay, conclusion for the ranting and raving I started off. It's 1:31 in the morning, West Coast time. It's still Friday, the 28th of June, 2024. And we were John C. Roseman in California, and if you happen to see anything crawling around in this place, that's bug war going on. Damn bugs are still alive and still kicking here. And this is well after the debates have already been over, and some of the reporters are trying to get some sleep right now. But out here in the West Coast, we're still dealing with the issues that we have. Firebugs happening. We have Antelope Valley going nuts with the crime situation. What else is new? And Southern California still has crime sprees going on left or right, but we're not totally going crazy with criminals in the street, as Trump kept trying to say. Or kept trying to say that on his campaign trails, but not in the debate. The thing, what makes this debate imperative and important was we were showing to, I called them old farts. Only because I'm going to be getting there pretty shortly myself. About 20 years, hopefully. But I'll be just as old and elderly. Will I have the vitality? That's going to be a different story altogether because what I was seeing on stage and what I was hearing, and I was also listening. This was the first time in history I actually heard that a president, the health issues were getting to him, especially when you're an older person. Respiratory illnesses have a way of screwing things up left and right. And I'm hoping that the doctors and staff workers are leaning into President Biden's health right now. Even a cold can bring up a scare that I'm afraid of. I know when my mother was still around, getting elderly, we had to watch out on some of the diseases being brought into the house. Somehow, if we had actually had an inherent virus or something like that attached to us, and we got into the house and got near her, or if Ma was out on one of her errands with my brother and me, we were more worried about her trying to catch something. And if she did, she was bedridden for a while. If it really got worse, it was IV infusions. I'm hoping that doesn't happen with President Biden. But I was watching two old gentlemen trying to hammer it out. The thing is concerning about the presidency, there was nothing mentioning in the U.S. Constitution of what the age limit was beyond 35 years. You're 35 years and older, you're legally able to be a president of the United States. But also, if you're a U.S. born citizen, you're also able to do that. Both President Biden and former President, now convicted Trump, they were born in the States. They were born in the States. So they could follow along with that criteria of becoming President of the United States. But it would take an act of Congress to get a law passed, to get an amendment going on, whether or not if there's going to be an age limit, the max age limit for a person to become President of the United States, if you're within a certain age bracket. The idea may have been floated around for years, but it was never acted upon. And if it was, it probably shot down in Congress or shot down in committees again. So this is going to have to be on the forefront of the Trumplican Party and the Democratic Party on this one. I know the independents were talking about this damn thing for a long while. But whether or not it translates into congressional work, the President of the United States is going to have to sign off on that one. It's not an executive order. It's going to have to be something signed into law. And whoever's going to be getting the presidency of the United States is going to have to sign on this one and mean it. Last last several hours was becoming a fiasco. I had not seen a political candidate so hell bent on blaming anything and everything than I had in Trump. And he was going to do anything and everything to destroy President Joe Biden. Credibility, record, and anything else on him, including bringing up family history. So this is what we're going to be expecting all the way from now until November. We're going to have the nation polarized on this, if it hasn't been already. Some of the independents have been worried about Biden was supposed to be bringing the country together, but unfortunately, because it became more and more polarized, Biden could try working with the elder generations, but when it comes from the younger generations, he wasn't making any dents with them, including the younger students, 18 and up. He wasn't really catching their votes. He really wasn't catching their energy. But they also had to see how Trump was dealing with things in the first place. Some of the youth still think that Trump it has to be worshipped as a god. I know the older generation wants Trump to be worshipped as a god. That's not going to happen. But people think he can't do anything wrong, and that Trump was set up politically. And Trump, during the debates, was saying that on a constant basis. If it wasn't about the border issue, and it wasn't about the millions and millions of people bringing in stuff and rapists and crazy people and this and that. Millions of people on Social Security, Medicare. No wonder it's collapsing at this point. And I'm thinking to myself, you dumb fuck. No, he's pushing that because he figures people are dumb. And sometimes I think so too, because every time they keep trying to show what type of people we got at the Trump rallies, I don't think they've got any intelligence in them. That's a hell of a thing for me to say about it, but what's being presented out there is I don't see any scholars out there who actually are supporting Trump's bullshit. I see the political hacks out there trying to get their name out there, and the other bottom feeders are trying to make money off the damn thing. Of the poor other schmucks who are caught up in this thing. You have the grifters coming out in force. It doesn't matter to the politicians or a low-life bottom feeder. Doesn't matter. They're still grifters. Trump taught them well, or allowed them to come out in force and encouraged them. What was it earlier this week or last week that one particular grifter was on this radio show lost it? Lost his show entirely because he owed the victims of Sandy Hook shooting. He owed the parents more than what anybody else could afford. So his show went under. But he'll try to grift on something else. My Pillow Guy was one of the other grifters out there who's still also having issues with his company going under. And he still can't get anything going on. His lawyers are leaving him, according to the reports on the Independents. That wasn't bad enough. The politicians who support Trump like crazy are still yelling and screaming at everybody else. They still want Trump in office. Supreme Court still delaying the decision at the time of this taping whether or not Trump is going to be really screwed over or not. Not just because of a gag order situation. No, whether or not he's got presidential immunity. And this is what's going to be scaring the hell out of people left and right. If it goes retroactive, that means anybody back as far as they can of the presidency will have zero accountability to the general public and to the law after they get out of office, or even when they're in office. When they're in office, everything has to be part of it, but they still have to be held accountable. That's why we still have the 25th Amendment going on. 25th Amendment, basically. Shall we review this, boys and girls? Let us review. Let us review on this one, shall we? Okay. 25th Amendment, according to the law.cornell.edu. Section 1. In case of the removal of the President from office or of his death or resignation, the Vice President shall become President. Section 2. Whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the Vice Presidency, the President shall nominate a Vice President who shall take office upon confirmation by a majority vote of both houses of Congress, both Senate and House, I guess. Section 3. Whenever the President transmits to the President pro tem of the Senate and Speaker of the House written declaration he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of the office, or until he transmits them in a written declaration the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the President of the United States, Vice President. What I'm looking for right now is whether or not I need to get the whole Constitution in this situation here. What I'm looking for the articles that are going to be important: President succession, President vote, prohibition. Well, isn't that nice? What I'm looking for is when a president gets out of office because he got screwed over. I know there's an amendment on that one. Hang on. Pause time. Okay, correction. Article 2, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, according to the page I'm looking at through my tired eyes, Cornell Law School. Section 4 states, President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from the office of impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. They tried to convict President Biden. They couldn't do it. They tried. It didn't work. Didn't have the votes for it. And they couldn't find the reason for it. So they're still screaming about that in the House at this point. Senate doesn't have any issues over it. But any other kind of person, such as Mayorkas, I think, even Garland's having an issue over it. But this is a section in there that's telling us that Congress would have to try and convict. If Trump ever gets in office, this is what he's going to be using. That's what people are afraid of at this point. It's getting late. My brain is addled. My brain is fried. It needs sleep. We will have this conversation a little bit later when I get more sleep. Till now, the zombie must go back to bed.